Good morning. My name is Katie Goslin, and I'm happy to serve as the worship associate today and to welcome you here. I invite us to take a deep breath and center ourselves with these words by Michelle Collins. Here we are together, bearers of imagination, creators of new worlds. It is our imagination that lifts us beyond despair, that whispers, "What if?" and dares us to answer. Today, we gather to renew that spark, to embrace the power to dream. Come, let us imagine boldly and worship together. When we gather together, we join our siblings in faith in lighting a chalice, which has been a symbol of Unitarian Universalism for many decades. We'll light our chalice with these words. We light this chalice, a spark in the darkness, kindling the embers of imagination within us. May its flame ignite wonder, fuel dreams of justice, and illuminate the path toward what could be. And now, please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are a church of many different ages, bodies, genders, identities, theologies, and beliefs. And we are united in our mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. My name is Reverend Beth Monholland. My pronouns are she, hers. I am a short, middle-aged white lady with short curly hair, wearing a beautiful clerical stole with a tree motif, and it is an absolute joy to serve as the lead minister to this congregation and welcome you fully into this space today, whether you are here in our sanctuary or joining us from the comfort of your home and the magic of the internet. I want to bid a special welcome to any guests who have joined us today. If you are visiting with us, I invite you to complete a connection card if you'd like to stay connected to us and learn more about the life of the congregation. And as I mentioned, we are a congregation of all ages, which means that we welcome the noises and distractions that little ones might bring into a service. And while kids are welcome to stay here in the sanctuary for the entirety of the service on a Sunday morning, we do have our faith development religious exploration classes, and kids and volunteers will be invited to go to their classrooms after the time for all ages noted in your order of service. We do have a nursery that's available for little ones under 5 if caregivers deem that that is a better space for those little ones. And no matter your age, if you need to move around or keep your hands busy in order to focus, we do have coloring and activity packets just underneath the lanyard tables in the foyer. You're welcome to get those at any time. And if you need a little more wiggle room, you just want to stretch your legs or have more breathing space, you're always welcome to go across the entryway to Fellowship Hall where the service is being live streamed. And of course, everyone is invited to Fellowship Hall immediately after the service for our time for kinship and coffee. Wouldn't be a UU gathering without coffee and conversation. We hope that you will continue the good conversations and connections with each other after the service today. And with all of that, I'd like to take a deep breath because I feel the need to center, and maybe you do too. And let me welcome you once again into this service. I trust that your heart and your spirit will receive what they need today. And welcome officially to the month of May. For those who don't know, it is May the 4th. So, beloveds, may the 4th be with you. And also with you. Thank you. Yes. The end. We can all go home. We've done what we needed to do today. Our worship theme in the month of May, connected to Star Wars and May the 4th loosely, is imagination. And so in this month, throughout the 4 weeks of services, we'll be exploring imagination and dreaming as spiritual practices. Today's service is actually titled Wildest Dreams, and I want to invite us into our wildest dreams for our present and our future. But next week, next Sunday, which is Mother's Day, is a very special service here. It's our annual music service, and I hope everyone will come back, bring your friends for that. We will have music galore also as an invitation for dreaming. Then on May 18th, we'll actually have a very special guest minister, a UU colleague, Reverend Charlie Davis will be here, also inviting us into imagination. And then on the last Sunday of the month, which will be Memorial Day weekend, our wonderfully, ably led worship committee will be engaging in a service that invites us into imaginative play. So during the service, you'll get an opportunity to make poetry and art and music together. Again, I hope you will join us either here in the sanctuary and again across the internet for this very special month. And I hope that you will also allow yourselves this month, despite whatever fears and worries you might be carrying, to let yourself dream, to play, and to imagine, because that, in these times, is so what we need. And with all of that, it's time to do a little bit of play. It is our time for all ages, and in the spirit of imagination and play and imagining our future, I have fortune tellers. I made a bunch, and I fires like, I don't know, 3 or 4 kids or kids at heart who want to come up here and have a little fortune-telling time with me. You are welcome to do so. All right, a couple of folks are coming, just from way in the back. Are folks familiar with fortune tellers? I discovered they had a different name, which I'm not going to share because I don't like that name. So I have some fortune tellers for us.
Where are they? Oh, there they are.
No, those are from there. These are them. So you're going to get to hold one for sure. So if you never played with these as a kid, you do. It's fun origami, and there's going to be some after service and fellowship hall for you to play with.
What?
Yeah, you get some now and later. It's like a twofer today.
So can I keep it?
Yeah, you can keep it.
Yay.
So there's lots of ways we can play. And telling our futures, Juan and I were talking, and he said he's a bit superstitious. And I'm not going to lie, so am I. So we're keeping our fortunes pretty simple today. And so sometimes you can ask yes or no questions. ¿Dónde está my yes or no? So, do you want to ask me a yes or no question?
Yeah.
All right. So, what is your question? Like, are you going to get to play later today? Is that a good question? Yeah. All right.
How can you get to play later today?
Great. Which color do you want to, the swirly. He picked a swirly. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pick a number. 3. 1, 2, 3. And do you get to play later today? The answer is hard to open. Maybe. Oh, all of that for a maybe. All right. I have another question. So who wants to answer this one? Instead of a yes or no question, this one is a different kind of question. What is the special thing you'll get to experience this week? Yay, that's a great question. I made it up. What color do you want? Purple. All right, we're going to do it this way. Ready? P-U-R-P-L-E. Pick a number. 1. All right.
1.
Olive, what special thing are you going to get this week? Church time! Woo, you're already getting it! The other one I have for us today, and everybody might get one of these, is dreaming about what are some awesome things we might want for our lives and our futures together. And not just our futures, everybody, our actual presents. So, you get to pick a color now? Blue. B-L-U-E. And now, these aren't numbers inside their words. Which one do you want? Here are your options. I'll read them for you because I know they're hard to see. Meditation, mutual aid, social action, music. Social action. All right. That's too many to spell out, so I'm going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Social action. And now, here's what else you get. You are going to get leisure time because you are doing hard work. Yeah! All right. Everybody gets to take one now, though. And here's what I want you to do.
I want this one.
Yep.
I didn't get one.
Oh, no, you get one now. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yep, I know. It's too exciting.
I want this one.
Perfect.
Actually,
I know it's hard. Which color do you want? You can take whichever one you want. Go ahead, everybody. Just take one.
I want blue.
Blue. Perfect. Here's what I want you to do. Little ones who just took some. Yup, they're already doing it. Go find your families and random strangers. They're not random. They're church strangers. And you were going to tell fortunes for everybody. And later today, these are going to be available for all of the people, young and young at heart, to also tell some fortunes. And in addition, of course you can. Jane's not here today, right? Yeah, but you're going to take one to her. Take sharing, generosity. They're practicing UU values as we speak. Good work, grown-ups, for teaching them that. So you are welcome to take those. And I want all of the people who didn't get one to think about what you might imagine. What questions do you want answered in a fortune teller? What dreaming might you put in one? And for that, our little ones will lead the way. You are welcome to go onto your classrooms, REE volunteers. And if there's any kid in your classes who's like, I did not get one of those, don't worry. You all, I made 75 of them, so there's lots later. It is always a joy for me to get to play and to get to interact with our kids. It's a joy to see so many families bringing their young people here. That is a joy I want to lift up this morning because I am particularly feeling it this week. And I know, as I say each week, that when we gather, we are always carrying our whole lives with us, both our joys and our sorrows, the things that are weighing us down and lifting us up. And it is an act of spiritual generosity that we as a congregation make space to share those joys and sorrows with each other. And in our services, we do that in two ways. We have an embodied ritual where we sing a blessing song, and folks are invited as they feel called to come to our chalice table. We have bowls of water that I like to say represent all of us and who we are collectively as a community. And there are bowls with petals to represent our joys and stones to represent our sorrows, and you are invited to place those in the water and watch as they are held, just as you are held in your wholeness, in all of who you are here. And then we'll share spoken joys and sorrows later in this service. We'll have a couple of weeks worth of joys and sorrows, so it may be long this week, and that is absolutely okay because we make space for what we need together. But if you do have a joy and sorrow you'd like shared aloud later in the service, you can write that on a card, which you'll find in your pew racks, or our ushers will have them later. You can put it in the offering plate. And you can also email, especially if you're joining us online, at joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. Those will come through and I'll be able to read those as well. For all the ways that we make space together, for all the ways we hold each other, I am grateful. And I invite us now to sing as we feel called to sing, to listen to the music if that's what our hearts need today. And when and if you are ready, to come to this table or the one in the center back. And let yourselves be present, fully, wholly with each other today. Thank you.
Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. Our shared offering partner for May is Partner for People and Place, which is a nonprofit organization that works in Haiti to restore the land, improve farming, create opportunities for better livelihood, and ensure there's enough to eat. You can give through Realm and via the online portal on our website, or if you are here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks can be made out to UUCUC, and in the memo, put shared offering. Half of all non-pledged donations will go towards sustaining the work of this church, and the other half will go directly to our shared offering partner. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you. This is also the time to submit a written joy or sorrow.
Thank you, Juan. And thank you, everyone, for your generosity. I want to lift up a few things before we share our joys and sorrows. A couple of just announcements, because as you know, there are so many ways to get involved here, to be engaged in the life of this congregation. And a really, really important one is by being a member and voting. Yay! Thank you for indulging me. Our annual meeting, thank you. No, it's fine. Thank you. You can keep bringing this to me. Our annual meeting is June 1st, right at 12:30 here in the sanctuary. You can join us in person. You can join us online. We'll have that as a possibility. And so we hope that you will absolutely plan to be here that day. It will also be our annual flower service. We will honor all of our volunteers from this year and have a new member recognition ceremony. So it will be a full day. And speaking of new members, I am very excited to say that Margaret Lovell and Sue Stock and I led a Pathways to Member class yesterday, and 7 new people joined our congregation. Yep, that is fabulous. And in the time since our last Pathways class in January, 5 other people joined. So total since our last class, we've had 13, with 1 and 2 more who are going to meet with me one-on-one to sign the book before the next week is out. So we are grateful for all the folks who are finding community and belonging here, for all of our members who make that community and belonging real and possible. And then let's share some of our joys and sorrows, because one of them is from Margaret Lovell, who says she is so excited, that's my words, I'm interpreting, that her wife Sheila is one of the people who joined the Pathways class yesterday and signed the book and is officially a UUCUC member. We have a joy also from Jerry Carden, who shares that it was a joy yesterday to sing with the crooners and the People's Chorus in concert. Lots of UU singers and musicians participated. And a sorrow from Alyssa Knights. Alyssa shares their grandpa was admitted to the hospital on Easter with sepsis and pneumonia. He was discharged the following Thursday and is spending every day getting better and stronger and sharing his dad jokes, which Alyssa shared with us at the coffee house, which is one of the other joys several people shared last week. There were multiple lifting up of how fabulous our semi-annual coffee house was, and I want to add my thanks to Tanya Hodges and Jim Hannum and Sam Bashirs and everybody who worked behind the scenes to make that possible and who showed up and participated in that. I also want to thank everybody who the week before made our annual auction possible. It was wildly successful and continues to be so, and it was very, very fun. And I want to thank everybody who showed up last week to wish Reverend Sally goodbye. And there were many, many joys and sorrows offered last week to honor Reverend Sally's nearly 5 years of ministry with us, to say that we are so sad for our sakes to see her go, and so very joy-filled for the community in Toronto who will now be blessed with her ministry. More cards from the room today. Jody Hanger shares that her Aunt Nancy passed away last week. So sorry, Jody. It is a huge loss, Jody writes, for my family in the small town of Clyde, Ohio, where she was a teacher and coach for over 3 decades. She was my very special person, but she was to so many. I have to take my glasses off. And this is from Sajida, who says, I get to get a guinea pig soon. I know they're in RE now, but that is exciting, joyful news. Yay, pets. And then this is from Courtney, who shares that they are feeling lost in faith and trying to find where they belong. You are not alone in those feelings, Courtney. And from Beth Simpson, Singing for all is beautiful. We want to sang during Coffee House, and yesterday during the Resist Art Show. Yay for public singing. And I will check our email to see if I missed anything. A sorrow last week from Jerry Carden, more a remembrance. Last week, Jerry shared that his dad would have been 101 years old, and it was also the 19th anniversary of his death. Father Floyd, as Jerry shares, was an amazing farmer, father, and tirelessly gave back to his community. May his memory be a blessing. If I miss any, I apologize. If they come through later, we'll catch them next week. I already gave thanks for all the folks who worked tirelessly for the auction, for the coffee house, last week for Reverend Sally. And I also just want to lift up that April, for anybody who was paying attention, was a jam-packed month. It was like a marathon, and I've not run a marathon, but I've come close, and so I'm speaking from experience here. It was like mile 20 when you're training for a marathon, and it was wonderful. It was truly wonderful. And what I am reminded of over and over again, and I want to lift up as a joy, is how this community comes together. You come together in the big things that I've already named, in the kinds of programming you do that serve each other and the community. Our racial justice team led a fabulous program on reparations. Our queer UUs and Jerry Carden and Tim Temple and Roxy Howard led a fabulous program at Spurlock on trans advocacy. Our immigration justice team has been meeting tirelessly with other community partners for how we can best serve our immigrant neighbors. The work that we do is sometimes very visible, like being up here on a Sunday morning or singing at the coffee house, but it is also all the things that we do through our social justice and faith development, congregational life every day to serve our mission, to live our values, and to take care of each other. I see you, I honor you, and I thank you for all that you are and all that you do. And I'd like us now to just take a minute, if you will, of silence. To just let ourselves feel everyone in this room, everyone who's with us in spirit, and honor all that we are, all that we carry, and all we long to be together. Thank you. Now I want to invite Katie up for this morning's reading, which is a poem titled If Peace is a Rebellion, and it is by Larson Langston.
I don't want to kill any dragons. I don't want to fight demons. Let them breathe fire elsewhere. Let them roar down empty roads. I've set my sword down. I'd rather have tea under the tilting willow tree, watching the wind stir its long green fingers, listening for whatever truth the leaves remember. I don't want to do more damage, not to the shadows I carry, not to the soil I've scarred just by walking. No more battles inside my chest, no more betrayals in the name of becoming. There's already too much wreckage in the world. Why should I add my own smoke to it? I want to sit, to stay still enough that even the shyest wonders crawl out of the cracks and speak. Not to be heroic, not to be healed, just to be here and let the world tell me something true. Let the thunder pass without my name in its mouth. Let the storm forget me. I have no need to raise my voice above the rain. I found shelter in the quiet. The earth hums beneath bare feet, a language older than war. It tells me I am enough, even in pieces. So I stay, cup in hand, watching the steam rise like prayers I no longer have to speak. If peace is a rebellion, then let this be mine.
I think many of you know that before I entered a call to ministry, I worked in higher education. For 20 years, I was an advisor and career counselor and worked in student development, training orientation leaders, leading orientations, and honestly working with graduation speakers and doing all kinds of fun things that you get to do when you work with undergraduate students of all ages. And so one of the things I regularly did, because I had to hire and train student workers, was I interviewed lots and lots and lots and lots of people over the years. And my favorite question to ask in an interview used to be, if time and money were no object, what's your dream job? I asked that of probably hundreds and hundreds of people over the years and got fabulously wild answers. Some were like job titles. I didn't even know what they were. That was always fun. Write it down and look it up later. Some were things like, I want to be a mother, the best one I can be. I want to grow a garden. I would want to travel the world as my job. I loved asking that question because really in my work as an academic and career advisor, my day job really was to get people to dream about who they were and who they wanted to be. But a few years ago, a socialist friend of mine, some of you also know that politically I am a socialist, a socialist friend of mine shared a meme that was like, dream job? I don't know, man. I dream of not being part of exploitive capitalist systems. The dream job is to have no job. And I thought, yes, that is also true. And for all those years, I realized I had been asking the wrong question, or rather a question that was too small. I actually didn't want to know what someone's dream job was. I just wanted to know what were their dreams. What was their wildest dream for themselves, the people they loved, the world? And so often, the questions we ask limit us. They are already in the box we are in without realizing we're in it, and we limit possibilities because we don't realize we're working out of a paradigm that serves none of us. And that's why imagination and play are so important. It's why on this Star Wars Day, May the 4th, I want us to think about the lessons that science fiction, our wildest imaginations actually offer to us. I am not, however, going to talk about Star Wars. I'm going to talk about Star Trek. You are welcome. It is superior. You can fight me about that later. One of my earliest memories, not the earliest, but one of the early ones, was I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and my dad asking me and my sisters, girls, do you want to watch Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock? And the answer was always a resounding yes. I grew up on Star Trek, on the stories of it. And even before I watched Star Trek, I loved making up stories. I loved fairy tales. And I loved them for, I think, the reason that English author G.K. Chesterton once wrote, fairy tales are important not because they teach us monsters are real, but that they teach us that monsters can be defeated. And what I love as a grown-up, looking back, and not looking back, looking presently, let's be honest, I watch Star Trek regularly, everyone. What I love about the Star Trek universe, though, is that it is a vision of the future where humans actually have figured out our mistakes. We've come to celebrate and honor diversity and difference in all of its various forms. We're working in the Star Trek universe to leave behind our xenophobia, our prejudices, and all of our isms. It's a world that is a hopeful vision of who we humans might be. It's also a world, because of that hopeful vision, that gets, one could argue, and I will agree with you, rightly criticized for its rather naive utopian viewpoints on humanity. It believes in the goodness of people, and we have a lot of evidence that maybe people aren't so good. Utopian ideals are often rooted in naivete, and that's okay for us to own. But I think the reason that utopians, both fictional and real ones, fail over and over again is because those utopias fail to grapple with the current realities. In her book, After the Good News, UU minister Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd explores the challenges of contemporary Unitarian Universalism, and she does so by juxtaposing her storytelling with the failed utopias of the Midwest in the 19th century, of which there were quite a few. She grew up in Indiana, in a town where one of those failed utopias was, where founders of it still had great-grandkids running for mayor for the town she lived in. She was intimately familiar with failed utopias. And what she names in After the Good News, and what I recognize in so many utopias, again, the real ones and the imagined ones, is that they don't grapple with the actual harms we humans have done and are doing to each other. We don't actually fix them. We gloss over them and are like, everything is roses now, everybody, while the thorns are sticking in our feet. And so utopian ideals do seem overly sweet when they ignore the realities of human experiences. Utopian ideals do become poisoned when, and you'll see this in fiction and in movies over and over again, a supposed utopian society is established, and as the story unfolds, horror of horrors, we see what's actually underneath. And what's underneath is the exploitation of so many people. Horrific means that people did to justify their ends. Only a few people benefiting from what should be common goods, and a pretense that everything is okay. No wonder utopians fail when that is what they are built on. No wonder so many of us get drawn to dystopian fiction, dystopian literature, even as we live in what is clearly a dystopian timeline. Folks will often say, particularly about dystopian fiction and early science fiction in particular, that it predicts the future. How did those people predict the future? But what I would offer to us is that dystopian fiction does not in any way at all ever predict the future. What dystopian literature, fiction, and stories do is hold up a mirror to who we are right now. They are actually cautionary tales that say, here's who we are, this is what we do, this is the path we are on, and if we cannot imagine a different way to be, look at where this path is leading us. And so like all good storytelling and all good fiction, heck, even some of the bad fiction, there is a message there that says, this is where we are going, but it doesn't have to be this way. Because if we can imagine the worst possible outcomes, we can also imagine the best possible outcomes. We can and must imagine alternate futures that counter the harms of the past, that correct the failings of our present. Because the mirrors do seem prescient, don't they? If you read Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, we're still metaphorically and in some places literally burning books. You read Orwell's 1984, and you're like, holy crap, did he have a time machine and travel to 2025? But they were reflecting the realities of the times in which they lived. Those writers weren't predicting our time. They were telling us this is happening here and now, and we did not heed their warning. And that is why that mirror is still being held up to us, that here is where we still are. In Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, arguably one of her most famous novels, she tells the story of a long-distant fictional country, used to be America. And what happened to it when there was a civil war and a fascist theocracy was established, minorities were nearly wiped out and women were fully subjugated. I don't know if you've read The Handmaid's Tale. It was required reading for me in college, and I've read it several times. I don't know if you've watched the TV show of it. I was only able to watch season 1 and then was like, no, this is too much trauma for me. If you've made it through, God bless you. But I find the most horrific thing about The Handmaid's Tale is something I read in an interview Margaret Atwood gave, that she did not make anything up. She didn't make any of it up. And what she meant by that was this. What Margaret Atwood looked at is the ways in which women and marginalized people throughout time and currently when she was writing it in the 1970s had either been treated or were being treated somewhere on this planet. And what she did was just take those realities and those truths and put them in a book. She didn't make it up. She was holding up a mirror. Suzanne Collins did the same thing in The Hunger Games. Suzanne Collins tells the story of the origin of that story this way, that she was watching late night news sometime around 2004 or 5 and juxtaposed with cable coverage of the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and bombs falling on villages. She was seeing reality shows like Survivor and Amazing Race. And she was like, oh my God, what are we doing and where are we going? And she imagined another America sometime in the future, devastated again by a civil war, where a very powerful, elite, moneyed, wealthy oligarchy set up another fascist dictatorship, and the entire country was subjugated and exploited only for the benefit of that tiny, tiny minority. She didn't make it up, though. She held up a mirror and said, this is where we are, and if we don't imagine a different path, this is where we might be going. Isn't there somewhere else we can go? And part of what I love, honestly, even when I can't keep watching or reading it about dystopian fiction, is the unflinching stare into that mirror of our human tendencies. We cannot fix, we cannot repair what we refuse to name as a harm. We can't address racism if we keep pretending that being colorblind is somehow the solution. It isn't. We can't fix sexism if we pretend that women have equality. We don't. We can't protect our queer and trans people if we keep pretending like there aren't over 400 bills specifically targeting LGBTQ and especially trans people. We can't fix what we won't even name as a harm. And if we can't name the reality, how can we imagine a better future for it? Which brings me back to Star Trek. Because while, yes, Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry's very hopeful vision for humanity was that the goodness in us would eventually win out, part of what I love about that universe, why I keep returning to it in its various iterations, is that part of what the storytelling does is say, we messed up bad, humans. We messed up so bad, we nearly destroyed ourselves and the planet. And we had to change our behavior. We had to actually name the harms and do repair to heal them. It wasn't that we suddenly woke up one day and were like, everybody's equal. Let's hold hands and romp through the fields. No, we had to grapple with, in that fictional future, with the ways in which our wars devastated people, the ways in which our wealth inequality subjugated too many people, the ways in which our white supremacy culture said these bodies matter and these don't. And they have to keep grappling with it over and over and over again. They have to keep those future humans facing the fact that they still are filled with people who are hungry for power and will do anything to hold it. They have to keep grappling and struggling with the fact that they are afraid of the stranger, but what will they do with that fear? They imagine a different way for us to be, not by pretending our harms aren't real, but by showing that we can face them with honesty and heal and move forward. And yes, it's hopeful. But why are we here in a church, in a spiritual community, if not to make hope real? I am hopeful for us. Not so much because it's always been great, but because there have always been people willing to engage in the struggle to make us people better. And they're not, again, stories aren't predicting our future. We can't. We can't actually tell the future with a paper fortune teller or a magic 8-ball, or even with all of our knowledge of history and current events. We can look at probabilities and we can imagine possibilities. And so all of us can imagine that because we've been doing it for centuries. Do you know how many modern inventions, trying to dig out my phone, like your cell phone, like the magic of the internet, like video conferencing, like, I don't know, space stations and submarines and your robot vacuum cleaner, even automatic doors, thank you, Star Trek. But organ transplants, bionic arms, the fact that we can take and remake parts of the human body, those were imagined and written about in stories sometimes more than 100 years before they became reality. And it wasn't because any of those writers and storytellers had a fortune teller saying this will happen sometime in the future. It's because they imagined what we could do when we did the best of things for each other. And then somebody read that story and said, how can I make that future the real one? How can I make that possibility more probable? And so the dreamers and the writers and the storytellers and the imaginators, is that a word? I'm making it up. Inspired the scientists and the researchers and the engineers to make something real out of what we dream. And I dream of other things we can make real. I think you do too. And there are people across this city, across this state, and this country, this world right now, dreaming of things that don't exist yet, and they're working to make them real. Dreaming of a healthier, safer, more just spacious, possible planet for us all. And in the face of the rising fascism that we in this country and across the globe, that we are all needing to fight, dreaming of the possibilities of why we're engaged in that fight is so critically important. So let me tell you some of the things I dream on a global scale. I dream of single-payer healthcare, where healthcare is accessible to everybody, and medical debt is an unthinkable thing of the past. And we can actually, right now, join our Mennonite siblings just down the street in buying up medical debt and eliminating that for thousands of people right here in our own state. It's a dream that someone is making real somewhere. I dream of abolishing prisons. We don't need them. They're awful and inhumane. And you can read the work of Drs. Angela Davis and Ruth Wilson Gilmore and tons of other abolitionists to see the work people are doing to make that dream possible for us all. I dream of paid family leave and free education for all kids beginning in early childhood. I dream of that even though I don't have kids and never will. I dream it for all of us. And we can look to many of our European neighbors, folks who have made those things real. There are ways that we can make our dreams possible. I dream of a 32-hour work week where there's lots of time for leisure and play and rest. The 40-hour work week was a compromise. Thank you, Labor, for getting us even that. Side note, that's my Labor Day service. And I also dream of being able to grow a garden with food that nurtures me and anybody who happens to walk by. I have a dream where housing is readily available and affordable for everyone, and where the only times anybody is sleeping outdoors is because they wanted their feet to be touching the earth and they wanted to be able to look at the stars and dream. I have Star Trek dreams. Star Trek dreams where we are making each other more possible. And that means that I don't ignore the past and that I know we cannot change it. It means I know we can only face the here and now with honesty without giving in to despair. It means I know we can't predict the future, but we can take our choices into our own hands and make a path that we want to be on. And I dream that we let the shapes of those futures, those possible futures out there, be pulled into the present. As an activist I follow says, we pull the liberated futures into now by the choices we make right this minute, together, collectively with each other. Because I also have a dream for all of us, that we will someday be able to lay down all of our swords and know that we, right here, right now, no matter how broken, no matter how sad or sorrowful or hurting we might be, here, now, we are enough. And how wild of a dream is that? Dream big, my dear ones. And in dreaming, I want you to rise in body or spirit and sing with me hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. It's one of my favorite songs. I love the melody, but the words are also a hopeful vision of what we can build together. Thank you. Let's sing.
Please join me as I read the words by Reverend Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.